Welcome into Film Tank, the weekly podcast that covers both new and classic cinema. On this episode, we discuss the new David Robert Mitchell film, which is Under the Silver Lake. If you would like to get in touch with Film Tank, you can always email us at filmtankshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Tank Show. And you can listen to all of our episodes on our website, filmtankshow.com, or on iTunes. And now, here are your hosts, Nick Cheney, Toussaint Egan, and myself, Alex Diekman. Hello there again, everyone, and welcome in to episode 191 of Film Tank. I am Alex Diekman, along with my guys, Toussaint Egan.
Hello.
Oh, I did it differently.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Holy shit.
Reversed it.
Wow. I
Went
think
Toussaint
there was...
first.
Man.
So what is the significance of that?
Well,
You know what's
you'll
weird?
have to wait until the end of the episode to find out.
Hold on, though. You know what's weird, though?
The
that,
reality is there is no significance because everything is meaningless.
Well, but it's not, though, because we're doing this movie, Under the Silver Lake,
Mm-hmm.
and it's episode 191, which is a palindrome. Because
Yes.
191 backwards
Is
the
191.
same. For that, I mean, that's...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
This is some spooky Ghostbusters shit right here. Not the female one, the male one.
Anyway, who is that?
Nick Cheney also here with
Hi,
us.
Nick.
Oh, hello.
Believe it or not.
How are you?
Like each one of the previous 190 episodes.
That's right. Haven't missed one yet.
He's still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Energizer Bunny.
Aw.
Nothing outlasts the Energizer.
How come he's never become like the de facto mascot of like, beating erectile dysfunction? Like batteries, I feel like we don't like. No one really needs a battery that lasts forever because
Okay. So
by their nature, batteries are just meant to be disposable.
are you
and go-
asking why pop culture has not yet repurposed the
Yeah.
Energizer Bunny?
Like, why can't brands?
Pop culture is repurposing every other goddamn thing.
Well, but why can't brands basically, why can't
evolve?
I wasn't gonna say not even evolve, but like, why can't they have like a trade network of mascots and slogans, and maybe that's the only way these brands can really outlive their purpose and whatnot.
Are you talking about like the Verizon man, like mascot who like then went over to
Yeah,
Sprint? And
he
then,
went to
like,
Sprint. They
yeah,
did it.
And then like
That's a guy.
That's
I mean,
true.
Yeah, but
That's-
like he's
also a mascot.
yeah, he's just a mascot.
That,
He's
but
just
that
the,
is
he's
true.
the Verizon
yes.
man. So
Why can't we have more of that? Why can't Wendy's be slurping down some Long John Silvers?
why do you really believe that in the future Long John Silvers will continue to exist?
Yes, they'll merge with Wendy's.
Yeah.
That's
What do you think these combination? Oh, well, maybe that's like the future right there. Maybe we're on the doorstep and we
It's
just have
Wendy's Long John Silvers.
Yeah, it's Disney, Hulu, Wayland Yutani.
I like the Wayland reference. It always comes back to Prometheus for you.
No, it always comes back
Yes,
to
it does.
Alien.
Yeah,
Yes, it
it
does.
It always
does.
comes back to Alien.
Mr.
Well,
I didn't like
you're
Prometheus.
referencing the
was
entry in
stupid.
the
That's not what I
canon
sound
that
like.
you're quote unquote not.
I
A
hated
fan of.
Prometheus, even though I actually under the skin love Prometheus.
That is the dumbest impersonation of me I have ever heard.
Maybe it's the best impersonation
Oh,
of
shut
you
the
you've
fuck
ever heard.
up. Anyway,
Wanna
what
hear
film are
mine?
we talking about today?
You want to hear my Toussaint impression?
Yeah. Oh, God. What is happening? No.
Did I do that?
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Racism.
No, it started as racism when I started doing it years ago, but it annoys Toussaint so much that now it's just turned into a personal grudge, I guess.
Yeah, you motherfucker.
I just love how much Toussaint wants to hate on Prometheus. I'll just always go back to that.
I don't want to go back to that.
He's still doing it.
I don't want to go back to that.
Doing it.
No.
The film we're talking about today
Yeah.
is the new film from It Follows director David Robert Mitchell. Which is
Yay!
Under the Silver Lake.
Yay.
It Follows was a original episode of Film Tank, maybe like 5.
Early episode. These are all original episodes.
Well-
We've never done a remake.
Okay, that's true. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, we should do a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Like a revisit?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we choose the movie we did on an episode
Mm-hmm.
and see if anything changed.
Or, I mean,
Something worth doing. Not
Yeah.
down the road, I mean, even like maybe years down the road still, but like maybe a film that like the general opinion has changed on. Like if like, I don't know, like I'm
Black Cat. I mean, we never did that, but
Yeah.
I was going to say something like, this is just totally pulling on my ass, but like Whiplash.
oh my
Like-
god, how did that fit up there?
Son of a bitch.
Wow.
You know better than that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just like if like people decided they didn't like that years later, just to talk about it again,
Yeah.
and revisit it, and say, you know, after these and these things have happened over time, we've now decided that actually this is a shit movie because this director only makes crap after that, and we don't like him anymore. And going back and revisiting this movie actually sucks. I don't know,
It
something
does
like that.
happen all the time, which is funny because when we, and I say we as the collective we, both us three and the rest,
royal we.
yeah, and the rest of the internet, we do love to pretend that what we are saying on a minute-by-minute basis is somehow so well thought out that it will stand the test of time. And
It won't.
in reality, none of us know anything, and we will constantly change our opinions.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that
Like Prometheus in Tucson.
You know, I'll say this about Prometheus. All of my opinions about that film, I still stand by, like, the intensity that I felt towards it, because I think that there are fundamental problems with that film, and I stand by all the fucking things I said in our original episode, that it is not permissible to have fundamental pieces of a film's premise and its explanation basically demarcated to special features, extras on the fucking DVD, and to have that being marketed as questions will be answered. I'm just like, you should have had that in the fucking film if it was so crucial. Otherwise, you should have made the choice to just like either cut it off and actually like build something around it. But instead, I feel like I'm not going to talk about fucking Prometheus tonight.
Can I really quickly I want to say something.
Maybe that'll be the episode we revisit.
Oh, in response to what you just said, I think, while normally I would understand, I think what Prometheus is doing is actually commenting on the nature of a rarely unused genre within the sci-fi realm, which is that of the documentary, because it's so complex and so well thought out that context is paramount to the narrative's text, and you cannot understand it without also exploring it and observing it from the outside and its placement within film history.
I'm sorry, Nick.
Do you
blacked
just
out.
do Let's just talk about Under the Silver Lake. I'm not gonna fucking talk about that right now.
I've never seen it before. He's trying to goat you here.
Oh my god, what a dick.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, anywho, Under the Silver Lake, which is this the second feature film or
Third.
It is the third.
I think it's the
okay.
third. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Could be.
I think that he had one film before this. The
Like a
six-
short film or...
no, it was like a feature-length
The
film.
Myth of the American Sleepover.
right? Yeah,
Ooh.
and then
2010, starring nobody.
Myth busted.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
anyways, the third feature film from David Robert Mitchell surrounds Sam, intelligent but without purpose, finds a mysterious woman swimming in his apartment pool one night. The next morning, she disappears.
It's actually one day.
Magic.
Sorry. but-
actually, that's not how the sequence of events even happened like that. Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah right.
Sam sets off across Los Angeles to find her, and along the way, he uncovers a conspiracy far more bizarre.
So, while I would say 90% of that is obviously technically correct, it seemed like someone wrote that based on the trailer without having seen the movie.
Yeah, because that's not even the proper sequence of events. She's not actually like swimming in the pool. She's just like by the pool.
Right.
I know
She only
that
gets
seems
in
like a
the pool
technicality, but
during
there
the
is
dream sequence,
yeah, there's
which was heavily prominent in the trailer,
Right.
not in the actual movie.
Right.
Anyway,
that's how it was
Fuck you,
framed in
Andy.
the actual like film itself. But like, whatever.
So the really only main player here is Andrew Garfield. Riley Keough gets the second billing,
there's-
but she's only in the movie for like 4 minutes.
You got to say his full name though. It's Andrew I Hate Mondays Garfield.
What was what's her name? Ricky
Lineholm.
Lineholm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in this.
She's been in a few things. Randomly, she was a major character or major supporting character in Joss Whedon's adaptation of Much Ado About Nothing that he shot in his backyard and home.
Oh, I don't think we went to go see that.
Were you about to say I don't think I've seen
No,
that?
no.
When you
no,
and I went to the theater to see it
What
together?
I was saying is that I don't remember her in that film.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we went to go see it.
Yeah, no. But I only know that because she was also in something before that. She was around Joss Whedon in his circle a little while before she started doing other things.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I only recognized her in that.
Joss
anyway.
Whedon's circle.
Other actors pop up throughout this film, including Zosia Mamet. Is that how you say her name?
Zosha Mamet.
That's much better, probably.
She's not as French as that sounds.
Okay.
She's David Mamet's daughter,
Okay.
the playwright and famous film director. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyways, she's in this film. Also, Patrick Fischler is in this film, playing the guy who writes the comics Under the Silver Lake.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of a character actor that's been on a
Forgot
bunch
that
of
was
things.
his name.
You've probably seen him.
In, like,
he's
a
been
lot
in
of things.
different
You've probably
things.
seen him behind Winkies.
Well, he doesn't like to go there.
Yeah, well, still find him there though.
Some random dude. I'm just going to bring it up because I was very interested in that character and it was very bizarre. This guy named Jeremy Bobb. Never heard of him.
Is that the old guy?
He plays the songwriter. And then a couple other people who you have seen before pop up here, including Callie Hernandez, who previously appeared in Alien Covenant. She plays...
It's all connected.
She was also in La La Land, if that makes that any more fun for you.
Oh.
Not really.
Oh,
Yep.
I bet it does.
And Topher Grace makes a bizarre appearance here as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's his name?
Andrew Garfield.
No. I mean
Andrew, I hate
Mick
Mondays.
Poyle. Fucking Mick.
Oh, Jimmy Simpson.
Yeah, Jimmy. Simpson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, fresh off of his appearance in Westworld.
Yeah, kind of felt like he could have been playing a very slightly similarly shaded character as far as just a rich dude living on the fringe of stupid culture.
Yeah, truly.
Anyway,
So,
yes.
I've set up the pins. Who wants to knock them down first?
I think I'll go first
Okay.
because, as you know, anybody who has listened to this podcast in the past before, particularly our It Follows episode, I love that film. I really, really enjoyed that film when I first saw it, and it was actually my favorite film of that year when we recorded that episode.
Did you watch the Triple X parody though?
No, I did not.
It Swallows.
That's not a real thing. I'm
Okay,
not
fine.
gonna.
Don't Google it.
Nope, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, just off of the merit of the fact that I enjoyed It Follows so much. I'm not saying that it was a perfect film, but I think that what that film was going for really worked for me in regards to like what it was talking about, the nature of like adolescence growing into like one's sexual identity, the sort of loaded expectations and fears that come with that, and just like sort of how the fog of superstition that surrounds such a ubiquitous and yet so like taboo sort of like portion of your life follows you around, and then like you have to deal with the consequences of that. I thought that was really compelling and interesting. So just by the merit of that, I was looking forward to seeing what David Robert Mitchell was going to deliver next. And so when I heard that he was going to be doing this film Under the Silver Lake, I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. And it's like, Andrew Garfield's going to be. I was like, oh, it's interesting. And I saw the trailer, and I was a little bit, like lukewarm on it. And I'm just like, but I'm still going to go see it.
And you probably saw the trailer for the first time quite a while ago. 'Cause
Yes,
this
I did.
film
I know. Yes.
was kind of shelved ultimately.
Yeah.
And then kind of Mercy got released on video on demand.
It was put out to pasture. It was. It was definitely.
I mean, I haven't seen A24 do this since their very first feature, which was The Life and Mind of Charles Swan, whatever that was, that starred like Charlie Sheen and or was it Martin Sheen? I don't know, but it actually started like a genuine ensemble of like known actors, and it just got panned reviews. And that was like their first film, and then I can't remember what the second film. Like the second film was a hit; it's an A24 classic, but like that I remember coming straight to VOD. So like they are. I don't know. It seemed like they would have come a long way from that. It's just as far as like, maybe this is stupid, but like at a certain point, you should just stick to your convictions. I think, and just, I mean, it's an indie,
especially coming from a known director.
Yeah, and it's not like it was. Yeah, exactly. For someone who had already done some for them,
like if they just like invested their money in somebody and then they, figured out that, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't have done that, and they try to bury it, like that would make sense.
Yeah.
I think that, when the news came out that A24 was essentially going to be just putting this one out to pasture and releasing it on VOD and giving it a very, very limited, maybe 1 or 2 day small theater release, I was disappointed with that because I was looking forward to it. And I came across this tweet where it was like the murder of Under the Silver Lake by the coward A24. I thought that was hilarious. But now, having watched the film, I think that they were maybe they were onto something. Because I'll be honest, my first thought as soon as the credits hit was, I really don't know what the fuck I just watched. I really don't know what
That's why I don't understand why they wouldn't have been into it. Not because it's easily marketable, but because I just assume that that's A24's brand.
No, I don't think that's their brand.
Cultivating indie voices for think piece culture. I mean, I just think this is right up their alley. Not right up their alley as far as one of their best, one of their worst, whatever. Yeah. But I thought it fit right in with the shit that they do. That's just but yes.
I don't know. I think that this is a very, it's a very middling effort. It's a very confused film. It's trying to basically, it tries to carry the pretense of having a message, and it doesn't really carry that in any sort of like meaningful or digestible or retainable like form. I don't like I there's so much that happens in this film and yet so little at the same time. I think the things that stick out to me the most are the score is gorgeous. The score is really sweeping and immaculate. It has this very old like Hollywood style like throwback sort of vibe to it. I liked a lot of the cinematography. The cinematography is very evocative of a very particular era, Hitchcockian era of thrillers and suspense and horror. A lot of like the split diopter, like sort of like camera like technique that was also used in the finale for Us. That also like happens to like emerge in here at some point.
Well, really quickly, while you're speaking on specific shots, there was a very early shot that was like super random and really had nothing to do with.
Oh, with squirrel dies?
No, it was right before that. It was actually when that was about to happen, and it almost had an effect like the shot in Jaws that's pretty famous, where it
zooms in on
it zooms in, but it also has the effect that it's zooming out at the same time.
Yeah. I know there's a name for that particular like technique, but I can't remember.
Fucking awesome is what the name.
Yeah, it's
be.
fucking awesome. It's like it just plays with the depth perspective in such a way where it's just like it just sucks you in.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool like cinematography and like a lot of really cool shots in this film. The set pieces just become increasingly more bizarre as the film goes on, where you're just traveling through these assorted parties in the LA scene, where it goes from some type of film screening in the middle of a cemetery to some type of cemetery themed like bar that has tables that are made out of the tombstones of like Hollywood legends.
Yeah, there's the girl there who has to always have a balloon with her.
You always got to have a balloon with her, like, because that's just her vibe, man. It's like,
well, the movie has a lot to say about pop music.
Oh, that's clever. That's actually more clever than the film itself. Then there's like a Egyptian tomb, and then there's like this weird like fucking. I don't know. There's a lot of weird shit in this film, and none of it really adds up to anything that, like, I feel like forms a cohesive message, and it's just various different layers of unreality stacked on top of one another, and it sort of lampshades some of the inherent insanity, the nonsensicality of this entire situation, where like somebody asks like, what does Andrew Garfield's character do for a job? And it's like, everybody asks me about job, and it's just like, oh, it's a good fucking reason, because you have this apartment, which, you know, it's not the best, but it's not the worst.
That's a pretty nice apartment.
It's a pretty nice fucking apartment, okay?
Downtown Los Angeles?
Downtown Los Angeles, right?
Good.
Ooh, where the fuck do you get the money for this? How did you get the money for this?
Driving a Mustang around?
Yeah, right.
That's
Are you rich? Are your parents rich? Like, where the fuck are you getting this money from? I don't know. People keep on asking him like, how's work doing? And I'm just like, what the fuck does this man do for work? And we'll never find out. It doesn't matter. Just like a lot of things in this film.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
you're making it seem like, oh, it doesn't matter, but
it
doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter, and you
Don't
know,
care.
and you know what? Neither does this film. This film doesn't matter. It will flit out of your mind the moment after you have like watched it, and every single time, every subsequent moment that I spend like talking about it, the more that memory just sort of deteriorates.
It's pretty damning coming from you, since how much you liked it.
I know, and you know what?
Yeah.
I'm willing to say that as much as I liked It Follows, and how much I would love to watch It Follows again, it was like I would very much like to like return to that film and like parse through it again. It's like I enjoy watching. I don't think it's perfect. The finale again with the swimming pool, like, I will admit that has not aged well. That's kind of a stinker. But
I don't think it was very good when I saw it.
no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. Yeah, but for me, is like I've sort of been able to look at it with the clarity and be like, yeah, it's like it's not that good. But I think that 75% of a good film versus like maybe the 25% that just I didn't fuck with. I'm just like I really fuck with that 75%. No percent of this do I actually really enjoy, other than like the actual like material construction of it as an image, as a series of images. They don't really cohere into anything that I would be interested in rifling through for meaning. And I guess that's sort of my damning condemnation of it. And I think that maybe David Robert Mitchell is just a one-hit wonder. You know, maybe that's just what it is. But damn, I know that's
for 2 films.
I know, and that was 3 films. No, but
well,
what,
have you seen that?
What I mean to say is just like
you haven't seen that film.
I haven't seen that film. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's like what I mean to say is I don't mean to be overzealous in
How
saying
many
that.
films have you made?
None. Oh, actually, I've made a couple of them, but they're like short films and they don't fucking matter.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But anyway, what I mean to say is, like, there's nothing wrong with like making one good film. At least you've made one good film. That's more than a lot of people have done. It's fine. It's okay if this film is shit. So next,
I guess I'll go.
you love this film.
Yeah. David Robert Mitchell, not for me. I mean,
Not my tempo.
no, that's second Whiplash reference. Very good. Just not for me. I honestly could understand why somebody who is really into what this film is doing could enjoy it. But I think this, and I hate to use 2 directors to compare this to being combined into one, because they are much more acclaimed than David Robert Mitchell is. And I mean, this is probably not the perfect combination, but like this whole film felt like Terry Gilliam trying to make a Terrence Malick movie, and it just ended up a fucking circus mess. I mean, at what point does, none of this matters, but here's this message happening here. At what point does that just not mean anything? I guess
The message of like nothing matters.
the message of that, because there's there's conflicting messages happening throughout this film of this grand scheme that's happening behind the curtain, while at the same time nothing matters at all.
Yeah.
And they're just constantly fighting each other throughout the entirety of the film.
This man has like lost meaning in his life, and now he's like looking for it, and these like sort of
Right.
these conspiracy theories, this apathenia fueled like obsession to like find and parse out secret messages and everything, thinking that they're all going to coalesce into some larger, darker, more sinister conspiracy, and it does. But then, even at the heart of that, it rings very hollow. Really, it's all it just boils down to the most dangerous thing on planet Earth is a very rich white man who gets bored and starts doing some weird shit.
Yeah. I just, after the first maybe like 35 minutes, I just could not give a shit about anything that was really happening here. And I mean, it's not like I stopped watching. Like, I was paying attention. I was, hoping that at some point it picked back
Maybe
up
there'd be a turn.
and got my interest.
Yeah.
And it just never happened. Because
You mean you weren't into the whole part where he takes the cellophane map and puts it over the Legend of Zelda strategy guide inside of the Nintendo Power magazine, and is actually able to deduce where the secret sex cult is?
To quote you, Tucson, that was basic as fuck.
Yeah, it was basic as fuck.
And I think, I don't want to say that was the problem with this film, because there were a lot of other things I didn't care for, but there's just there's these two conflicting ideologies that are continuously fighting with each other throughout the entirety of this film, in my opinion. And that's like the entire message of the entire film.
Yeah.
At least to me.
Things matter. No, they don't.
Yeah. And that being said, from set piece to set piece, we see just these
Weird ass shit.
I was going to say these bizarre events happening. This is apparently how all of the cool people in LA, what they do in their spare time.
Yeah.
They play chess randomly while listening to a band that's literally named after Jesus.
Yeah.
Uh,
That did look like some fucking weird, what was the name of that one show? The Information.
and
The information?
No. It was just like, God damn it, I can't remember. You lent it to me.
Oh, The Prisoner.
Yeah, The Prisoner. That felt like, it looked like a courtyard from The fucking Prisoner.
The chess party.
Yeah, the chess party looked like a scene out of The Prisoner.
there was some like serious hipster shit happening in every turn of this
Oh,
film.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, but you do not start beating up a man while he's taking a dump. Like, that is just
Well, before that, he beat the shit out of a kid.
also bad, but
I'm starting to think that Andrew Garfield's character is not a good person.
well, you might
He's
have
not a particularly good person. He lies all the time. He constantly tries to deflect. He tries to compensate for his own his own lack of emotional maturity by constantly just like chasing after things that aren't really real.
Yeah. I don't know. That being said, much like in It Follows, which again was a film I didn't care for either.
Yeah.
There were some extraordinarily beautiful moments that were captured throughout this. The scene actually in the reservoir was phenomenal. A lot of the early scenes looked beautiful. Great set design. I actually thought really well captured too by the cinematography throughout, and not just like scenery, but actual shot composition. I thought was actually really good early on throughout the film, and really through most parts of the dialogue driven scenes in this film. I thought was actually really solid. But overall, story wise, I just couldn't get into this. Just another film that I just sat and watched and just could not latch on to. So, not a fan.
Yep. Nick?
Thanks, Tucson. It's nice that we're in agreement. on
Yeah,
this.
we're totally in agreement. We are drift compatible when it comes to beating the shit out of this
I have
film.
a feeling that our co-host may have a different opinion.
I'm sure.
But we'll see.
And you know what? I'm curious
We'll see.
because every time that Nick says something about a film, even though I may not like it, and it's like it always reveals perhaps another perspective that I may.
This is very much true.
Yeah.
So let's hear it.
So Nick, let's hear it.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay. We'll wait.
Yeah.
I am not ready to dismiss this film right now.
Okay.
I'm mulling it over in my head, and I mean, I'm in no way going to go to bat for it as some kind of misunderstood A24 disaster or anything like that, but I definitely think there is a lot here. I mean, everything is meaningless. I feel like while that is there on the surface, that's not the only drum that is beating in this film, and I do think it is somewhat conflicted, but I think there's some thematic purpose behind that. I'm going to start talking about myself for a second, my favorite subject. As a 27-year-old geek, I have amassed a collection of shit.
Yeah.
Movies, recently comics, video games, music, all of this shit, and physical shit, obviously, not just digital in this day and age, but all of this shit is utterly worthless. It has no value whatsoever, except a few of my out-of-print criterions. No big deal. But none of it matters at all. And yet somehow the proximity in which I placed it next to my other shit gives it value. Yes, Dusan?
Not to interrupt this, I know that you're going, but this actually just reminded me of something that one of my colleagues actually said. Recently tweeted about, like, what was the stupidest thing that you got in trouble for when you were younger, right? And this colleague of mine was a straight A student, and just happened to be that she liked playing video games, right? And one of her teachers at the time learned about that, and I was just like, why would a straight A student waste their time with stuff like that? And she basically just replied, like, snapped back, and was like, everything that we do is a waste of time, and then we die.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like everything is like it really all depends on like what meaning you're actually like deriving from it. Like everything that you do is a waste of time if you don't actually like derive any meaning from it. So
That's very true.
Yeah. Anyway.
As I was saying, it's that all of these things mean nothing, and yet if I am by myself, I can ascribe meaning to each and every one of them. Half the time against my better judgment, if not only to just have a reason to hold on to it. And when I, and anybody else, but when I engage with any one of these artifacts, I am only doing it under the narcissistic delusion that in some way this item was made for me in this moment in my life, and that without it somehow my life would be altered, and therefore I keep it. So I have to admit that I was a fan of this movie because I do think this movie does a lot to upend that entire narcissistic delusion that myself and a lot of people suffer from. In that I think sometimes a lot of people try to have what they would consider to be a harmless hobby. Like it's literally harmless, not drugs as far as harming yourself, or it's not, something that's too kinky or something that would harm whatever. But
I collect enamel pins.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the idea that is because it is harmless, therefore it is okay, it is acceptable, and somehow it is enriching. And while we can debate the merits on any one particular niche, it's all equal in the sense that it actually is meaningless other than what we bring to it. And the lengths in which Sam's character will go to hold on to the significance of these things that he has kept and these connections that he has barely maintained is just kind of frightening in a very, I would say, realistic way. I think one thing that's interesting that you two, for two people who were not fans of this movie, never mentioned in your
synopsis,
general
summary,
opening thoughts, considering you guys understandably talked about the kind of everything is meaningless theme, which is here, but neither one of you brought up the one scene that I thought was kind of the actual thesis of the film, which was
when he meets the girl.
When he meets the girl?
When he meets the girl on the billboard who turns out to be his ex.
Oh, no. I mean, I guess that was like maybe the first shading of it, but for me it was the video call.
Yeah.
Where at the end of all this, one of her first reactions is,
You barely know me.
yeah, you just met me, though. And that, I mean, in my opinion, that was a similar gut punch in the way that a movie we have covered by the Daniels, Swiss Army Man.
Oh, yeah.
The ending of that, which I felt rubbed me the wrong way because they did put too much emphasis on a character that we never got to see outside of his decision to end his life. So our sympathy is already with him, unfortunately. And no matter how unforgiving that ending might be in a good way, it just didn't quite sit well with me that, like, well, we're also still supposed to root for him, though, and whatnot. Whereas here...
See,
I mean, we don't need to get into that.
No,
Okay.
but if I can,
Sure.
if you can just give me like one
Go
20-second thing
All right.
here. I feel like since he is still showing us this story in his world, he has to be the one who rides off a farting corpse into the sunset. So that's the only reason why that happens, because even though like reality does set in, he cannot fucking cope with that still.
But I have no response to that because I just don't know how to just...
Because it was perfect.
Okay. Back to the movie at hand here. But this was a movie in which people are literally going to die. The reality of that is in no way negated by his revelation, and nor is he able to do anything about it. And the thing that he'll take away from this experience is what she said to him, which is that, you know, he did all of this on the whim of a meet cute that meant probably nothing to her. Now, I think the video call ended up meaning something to her in a way that neither one of them could predict. But in
Do you think I made a mistake? Well, I might as well just write this one out, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of misconnection tragedy that befalls both of them because that, you know, he was just too late in general. But for him to reach that as a destination, to arrive home, presumably suicidal, because not only do we have the just the iconic of the gun sitting next to him on the couch, but he literally purchases orange juice and saltines, which harkens back to her line, not just her story.
Everybody should try that once before they die.
Yes, and so, you know, all that is set up only for him to get distracted by his neighbor like he does practically every day, and just to go have a little fling over there because some form of fleeting, meaningless connection is more important than a permanent choice such as, you know, deciding to end your own life. And for that to bring him literally across the water in his apartment or apartment complex, and for him to see the ruins of what his life was, i.e. via the visualization of the apartment, as he's being evicted from a place he no longer even inhabits. I just thought the kind of apathy displayed there was actually pretty brilliant because after all this, he's not going to learn anything. And I think that for him to literally face what I would call almost demonic representations of indifference in the face of his quote-unquote passion for pop culture and or, you know, the females in his life. I mean, we have it with the songwriter who plays his ditties and tells him everything he knows is a lie, so to speak. And yet
you were rebelling to my music, and that was nothing but bullshit.
But he literally hears that, and his reaction is not, oh, shit. His reaction is, no, you lie. And in a week in which we are faced, currently, this will date this episode, but in which a quote-unquote fan petition is circling the internet to have Season 8 of Game of Thrones be redone.
That's not how this works.
It's not how this works.
That's not how any of this works.
And I just feel like that entitlement has been it's not that it's worse, because obviously it's not worse. We've always been entitled as a culture and whatnot. The internet has just made it louder. So for a movie to actually kind of tell a spoiled baby that his art is that he likes is not his to claim and does not mean to the world or the karmic universe that he has no control over, the same thing that whatever it means to him, it invalidates every choice he's ever made and everything he's ever gotten attached to. And the reason why he's an asshole is because he feels so pathetic, and that doesn't excuse it. But for me, it's one of those things where instead of a movie trying to say, you know, what if someone had a reason to be asshole? It's kind of saying, what if a person had no reason to be one? And that's what's most frightening of all, you know, and that there is no karmic judge up there ruling against him. And it's only because he hates himself and his placement in the world that he can't actually function as a human being. And I think the jokes in this movie about him not having a job, like, that was, in my opinion, kind of circling the drain of that this was kind of a, at least pseudo-depression allegory, that he's not annoyed that people are asking him if he has a job because he doesn't have a job. He's annoyed because he doesn't have a job, and yet people don't consider that to be a viable life experience. Like, he has justified it to himself.
I think a reasonable person can assume that this is an episode that has just recently come upon him and that he's previously had a job.
I was going to say, this is a never-ending cycle.
They ask him as if he is still working at this job that he has. So this was very recent. Like, he had a dog, which I thought he was lying about. Like, that he was lying about that in order to, like, sort of ingratiate himself to this woman. But it turns out,
especially the dog killer thing, I thought he was going to, like, at first I thought he was trying to subtly tie into that.
Right. It's like, and then the whole thing of, like, women barking at him and other shit like that. And I'm just like,
notice how men do not do that.
Yeah, men don't do that. It's a weird sort of.
What if
Owl's Kiss doesn't mean anything? The dog killer doesn't really mean anything. It's just a bunch of.
I don't really want to go down this path. But
I know.
What if he got fired from, like, a records, I don't know, like a
record store?
No, not record store. What if he got fired from, like, a record label and he previously was a songwriter and he just really wanted people to be in touch with their own thing, and then he's through this just horrible. I mean, this is totally just bullshitting here.
Yeah.
But, the fucking best line of this film comes early on, I thought. I mean, there's a couple that are really good. But when he's having sex with what I'm pretty sure we're led to believe is a prostitute early on in the film.
Ricky Lindholm?
No, that's his, like, his.
Yeah, I thought that was just a casual.
Yeah, that's his. That's his friends with benefits.
There's surreality there in their relationship because it is uber casual to the point where now she gets over him because then she disappears after the second time, at least in the film.
Yeah, because he smells like a skunk.
But the costumes are, like she said, this for a role. So I thought that was just an LA satire type shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
Anyways, whatever their relationship is, that's kind of doesn't really matter to where I was going with this.
Yeah.
But I mean, that opening sex scene was like a pretty solid noir opener, in my opinion, where he finds out about the thing that will not be the big story, but it will lead him to the big story, which was the guy who's been abducted. But the best line that comes out of that is the Kurt Cobain poster that he has.
I saw him in concert once.
I recently got that autographed, which I think, he then qualifies it that it's from his daughter, I think, which is really fucked up.
Yeah.
But I feel like I kind of wish he just kind of left it. I think it would have been way more bizarre, and I kind of would have dug it. But after watching the entire film, that line is not only hilarious, but also horrifying, because if this is somebody who's suicidal and Kurt Cobain is like his idol, that's fucked up.
I mean, no, that's kind of why the vibe I got from this whole movie.
The other thing, too, is he straight up murders the songwriter with Kurt Cobain's guitar.
Yeah. Power of music.
That scene, actually, I thought...
got the touch.
I thought that scene actually was pretty fantastic.
It was.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Although I did have this weird vibe when they zoomed in on the songwriter's face that it actually was Andrew Garfield in like super deep makeup.
Yeah.
So I had to look up and make sure it was actually somebody else because I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I do like how you had started to try to guess who it would be, and it turned out to be nobody,
Yeah.
which I thought was actually a pretty great... Because I do think they were building it up, and that made perfect sense, and yet... behind the Wizard of Oz truly is just that
Just some
supporting actor.
Some
never
fucking
seen
old
before.
white guy.
The wizard is just a man, like, in the booth behind a curtain.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, and I think that's ultimately where it sucks because I do think there are small moments throughout this film that I genuinely did really enjoy. And as per usual, Nick, your explanation of things definitely gets me to look at it in a different light. Toussaint alluded to it, and I think you are very good at that. So I will say that it is definitely opening my eyes a little bit. That being said, I still don't think this film's any good.
I don't think that I'm going to return to this film, at least not anytime soon.
Oh, just definite. Just
Never.
never.
Just definite. Yeah, but I thought that there were enjoyable parts about it. I just don't think that those parts had anything to do with the plot or the message of the film, but rather just the mise en scène, the cinematography, the score. Structurally, I enjoy this film, and I'm if nothing else, like I enjoy films as structures and how they're put together. Like that's really fascinating to me. But this didn't really transcend that sort of perfunctory baseline appeal.
Yeah, no, and I totally get that. I just maybe I'm liking it too because of just the ballyhoo of
Ballyhoo.
the. Thank you for always repeating.
Well, it's really funny.
Of the
Which part?
the production troubles and woes of this movie. Because I just, for it to be... Like,
You were assuming it was going to be a big pile of shit.
I
if
was
it
just
was that
assuming it would have
bad.
been incomprehensible and impenetrable, and I'm sorry, but this is basically like, if a grad student who loves Thomas Pynchon tried to remake Vertigo, and it's just... yes, it's elementary, so therefore...
that's awesome. Oh my god.
Like, I'm not going to give it credit for, just doing the bare minimum of regurgitating better stuff out there. But I don't think it's a pointless piece of media, and nor do I think it was even that crazy from the outset, because the idea that they couldn't have marketed this to what I would call an A24 audience, that's more confusing to me than anything in this movie. And I mean, it's a very blunt and dumb movie, and I say that not even as a pejorative, but I think kind of in a winky way that I think the movie knows it is. And this movie equates the activity of jerking off with code cracking conspiracies. I mean, when he is literally doing that at the same time, and so the idea that anyone could be, in my opinion, unsatisfied by the trajectory of this movie. And if it didn't work for you, that's fine. But the idea that it was going to go anywhere else, I just kind of...
No, I think like any solid noir film, like this pretty much lays the groundwork of what it's going to be within the first 15 minutes.
But unlike most noirs, it has that metatextual element where it is stating from the outset. I mean, even a movie that is far superior, but like Inherent Vice or like Chinatown or something like that, where the whole Byzantine labyrinthine whatever plot and convoluted schemes and whatnot, even those have a heft of importance that while maybe they're incomprehensible to the layman, it just also feels like maybe they're impenetrable because we're just not meant to get it, because we are the common man watching these much richer and whiter whatever. But something like this, I feel like does kind of state and pretty much drive home that all of those shits, it boils down to one thing, which is that no one is fucking happy and everyone is doing what they can to try and get to a better place. And some people will literally kill themselves in the process, and other people won't even be
live in the ground somewhere. If
well,
they're
that's what I'm
rich
saying.
enough.
Kill themselves in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're doing, and some people won't even have the balls to do that.
I love the idea too. This was another small story detail that I quite enjoyed. I love the idea that he is at the whim of whatever the homeless group will do. But then when he runs into a homeless guy, he talks about how much he fucking hates them.
Wow, there's just so many things I don't like about this character. It's like, and I don't think that's like, oh, it's like the film's bad because the main character's bad. It's like, no, I'm not saying that. It's just like, when you really like take stock and inventory of everything that this man says and does, like, fuck, I don't like this guy. If I knew this guy in real life, I would never hang out with him.
I feel like everything is a contradiction, though, with his character throughout. I mean, it's not just the homeless thing, too. Like, the idea of him wanting to, like he's only interested in the people that he meets because he wants something out of them. Like, he's only, and I mean, that's probably
He
true
wants
to
them,
a lot of things in
he
life,
doesn't,
but
and not just want something out of them, but he wants them to play a role in his life, and not the other way around. And the idea that they can't exist for anything other than for him to figure out, like a puzzle piece, how they fit into whatever grand design that he subscribes to, which is bullshit to begin with.
yeah.
I gotta say, I do like some of the littler jokes, which are in no way subtle, but just not like the big themes of this movie. But, I mean, from his mom calling him to tape the TCM whatnot, which for him to be so uninterested in what is a genuine possible moment for him to connect with another human being who probably does love him because she's his mother, to brush that off for a hot girl who only wants to watch How to Marry a Millionaire. It's kind of funny because you run away from your mother and you end up fucking her. So
oh shit.
So little things like that where it's like he is ignoring every actual instance of kind of Freudian karmic significance in favor of bullshit that will ultimately mean nothing and be a fruitless endeavor.
Yeah. Probably.
Literally, because she won't fuck him. So
that's true.
Yeah.
What is that bird saying? I was like, I don't know. It's like I've always wondered what it is, and he's just like scrutinizing it, and like we cannot help but try and scrutinize as well. And I'm just like, really, does that even matter though? It's like,
there were like 850 little details throughout this film that are supposed to just be there and be like, oh, that's interesting. Like everything from like the woman handing out records at the party to the woman always having to have a balloon with her.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's just too many of those that at some point they mean nothing, which again, I feel like that's something that the movie's going for, but at the same time,
that stuff felt more like
that stuff
LA
felt like,
culture.
yeah, there's the scene where
that stuff felt more like Mother to me.
There's the scene where Andrew
Don't look at me
Garfield's
like
character
that. I
visits the comic zine guy at his house, and you can tell that he's just looking at this guy and just like, wow, this guy's fucking crazy. He's like, he's talking about how he'll find the meaning to his existence on the back of a carton of cereal. And he's just like looking at it, and really he's just looking in a mirror, honestly, but he doesn't really understand that. And then eventually he like grabs after that carton, and that carton becomes so important to him as well too.
He starts eating the like 30-year-old cereal.
Yeah, that's
kind of fucking gross. Probably the best shot of the entire film, which I absolutely loved. And it's funny because I guess I should have seen it coming, but I didn't even really think about it until it happened. Which is when the girl who's the daughter of
Jefferson, whatever,
gets shot when they're actually in the reservoir, and that basically just completely mirrors the first thing he masturbated to on the cover of Playboy from many years ago, which I thought was fantastic. And I love the idea, and I pointed out when we were watching it, but the idea that now that image has been ruined for him forever.
Oh, I don't think it has.
Oh, you think it's just enhanced now?
Yeah, I mean, I made that joke, but I was actually being slightly serious, which is that, no, I mean, if you're talking about a guy who's trying to find meaning in everything, especially when he shouldn't. So the idea that he would see a real-life recreation on accident of his Playboy cover that he's coveted so much in a shared experience that he had that was not under his control, you think he's not going to jack off to that if he can?
Fucked up.
Lord help me.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't think this guy learns anything from this movie, which
Nope.
I think is the
Yep,
point.
he's a totally static character.
Okay.
But the world changes, though. No, it doesn't. No. Okay, what's our final ratings on this?
Oh,
So
well,
that's ready to go home.
Yeah, my final rating on this is I give it a 2 out of 5, I guess. It's all right. I like some parts of it, and listening to Nick talk about it, like maybe improved a little bit. I was like, yeah, there is something here that we can take out of it. There is obviously something to take out of a text. Like every text has something in it. It's just whether or not we are willing to like devote the time or attention, or we think that we imbue it with meaning by like talking about it and actually like looking into it. And if there's just nothing that we see into it, then there's not going to be really any meaning in it. And just like, and I appreciate like being able to talk to somebody who's able to actually extract meaning out of it, because I feel like in a way that improves.
because I'm a narcissistic
No,
asshole.
that improves the text in my eyes, for the fact of like there is something to take out of it, even if I necessarily cannot really.
You
engage.
are, just really quick,
Yeah.
you are the opposite of our protagonist here, because you are happy that meaning can exist outside of your own
Yeah,
perception.
absolutely,
It's something
yeah.
that you cannot connect to,
Yeah.
which makes you a good person.
Well, sure, maybe,
and
I
not
guess. Yeah.
a narcissistic asshole.
I guess, yeah. But it's just like, you know,
Hey, take the compliment.
no, thank you. It's like,
And the
yeah, it's
hand
like
job.
you always gotta get the fuck away from me. Anyway, it's like you always have to be willing to, like, I don't know, open up to different perspectives and different sorts of films and texts, and it's just like everything is a learning experience. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with 1.5 out of 5 for this.
Oh.
For me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just had to undercut me, didn't you, motherfucker?
No.
You already knew.
Nick thought I wasn't gonna go that low. So
I guess not. I mean, I didn't think you were going to go that much higher, but
no.
you don't really usually go drop behind 2 unless you like actively dislike something, and I didn't quite get that vibe, but that's okay.
No. I would say that this just this was a struggle for me from start to finish. I definitely wouldn't put it as low as something like Serenity or something like that, because I think there are.
I would hope not.
Well, I do think there are a lot of competent shots and competent filmmaking moments throughout the entirety of this film, but it seems apparent that David Robert Mitchell just not going to be my tempo, and that's okay, because there are a lot of things that are not for me.
Yeah.
So I just didn't really care for this, and I wanted to enjoy it, but ultimately it just really didn't do anything for me. So 1.5 out of 5 for me for Under the Silver Lake.
Yep. I am probably resting at around a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
It's not in any way some kind of new Nick Cheney canon film.
No.
But
You thought it was pretty good.
I did, and I'm once again, I'll reiterate that I'm baffled by A24's indifference and kind of embarrassment of it. Not so much for quality, but just for the fact that I don't understand why they wouldn't want to kind of drum up this kind of what I would call safe art house stoner whatever. But I did enjoy it. I thought that the resonance of the video conference call really pulled the movie together, because it was one of the few moments in which somebody's emotions other than our protagonist not only mattered, but had clarity that even he couldn't obscure with his own bullshit. And for that to exist literally across technology and across another screen, and it couldn't even happen in the same room, I think it speaks volumes about him and the way he interacts with everybody, and or shall we say doesn't allow them to really interact with him. I just thought that was a perfect moment in a decent film, and I thought overall I guess what I liked is that while we've had a bunch of movies like this where it went where it pulls the thread of everything is meaningless and yet everything has meaning. What I liked about this was that if you're gonna do it with this, I would say, level of indifference, at least the connections had that extremely low threshold of, work put into it. Like, I don't have to go and read BuzzFeed article to tell me how this, because the character is able to do it in this film. And so I just think that as a whole package, this movie sustains on its own fumes, and I can understand why anyone would find them stinky, but I don't know. I took a hit from it, and I was okay. So, 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Definitely a wide range of opinions.
Yes, I will say, though, your 2 ratings and your opinions on this movie did solidify that we will be doing Solo on a future episode. So I hope you're happy, motherfuckers. Next time you disagree with me,
Wow.
I'll do worse.
I was gonna say, I don't know how those are related, but okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that our opinions add up to your opinion, which is technically true.
Oh, it's like a pattern. What does it mean?
It means that Nick is twice as smart as we are.
Oh, God.
Or it means that...
Maybe it means nothing.
I know you're joking.
Maybe it's just a coincidence.
But there's something there.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
I will when I'm trying to break the code.
Shut up!
That's right.
All right.
That's how we do.
Send you a selfie.
Oh, my God. All right.
On an old Polaroid.
What are we doing on our next episode, Alex?
Coming up next week...
Do you know this girl?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Coming up on our next episode, we're going to discuss the potential final entry into the John Wick film franchise.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The producer literally said these things are going to keep on going until the sun explodes.
Yeah, I mean, no spoilers, but every review said that this is not just leaves the door open. This does, once again, set up the idea that there will be another one. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the continuation of the series, then, if that's what we want to call it, which is John Wick Chapter 3. We did an episode discussing both of the first 2 films, and we're going to discuss the third one here. Just a very interesting film series that this has become. And I wouldn't put it up with something like The Fast and the Furious or something like that. But the fact that this really came out of nowhere is pretty fascinating to me. I always remember, I don't remember what movie we went to go see. I think it was maybe Snowpiercer, although maybe it was that was before this. But I remember pretty clearly, Nick, when you were working in a movie theater at the time.
I was.
And you were saying that people were going to see a free screening
of John Wick.
And that it was a lot of people going to see this free screening. Mm-hmm. And I remember basically saying, why the fuck are people wasting their time going to see Keanu Reeves in bullshit? Because at the time, that's what he was doing.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves was kind of over the hill. Like, The Matrix was well behind him. Like, he was still a good actor, but he hadn't been involved in anything good.
Well,
Toussaint, really quick, this ties into that and also an interest of yours. Mm-hmm. Did you see someone who took the Key and Peele sketch and made it into a Keanu Reeves meme? So you know the sketch where it's a Barack Obama sketch where after he gets done giving a speech, he does the thank you walk.
Yes,
yes,
I did.
White person is very cordial, whatever.
Right,
but every time he sees another black person, he does the whole whatever.
Yeah.
So someone took that exact video.
Yeah, I saw
sketch,
that. Yeah.
And then put every basically bad Keanu film as one of the white people, and every time it was like a John Wick or a
come here,
whatever.
come here,
it was whatever. The hardest I laughed though was when he gets to Keegan.
Yeah, but it was just like he's half black, and it just like it was like what am the Matrix sequels? I was like, look, I agree with that. Okay, like treat them with some fucking respect. There is actually some merit to those films.
Just to close this loop though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leading up to John Wick in the 10 years following the Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah.
These are the films that he released. Constantine.
Okay, that was good.
Okay. Thumbsucker.
What?
A Scanner Darkly. Okay.
I need to see that.
I've heard it's quite good.
Yeah.
A romantic film with Sandra Bullock.
The Lake House?
The Lake House.
I mean, What movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Street
That's-
Kings, the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. A movie called Henry's Crime with him and Vera Farmiga and James Caan.
Oh.
James Caan is always the badge of quality. A movie
He was in Santa's Sleigh with Goldberg.
A movie in 2012 called Generation That's really the name of the film.
Okay.
Yep. And then 47 Ronin in 2013.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they did a remake of that.
Oh yeah, that was the last film that he passed by in that that Key and Peele skit, where you're just like, I'm not going to even acknowledge you. Yeah.
So that's where we were before John Wick.
Yeah.
So I think my opinion was not necessarily invalid.
No, it's not. No.
But it is just pretty fascinating to me that this has become like a legitimate series that people are interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it will apparently spawn a TV show, and
He was
Yeah.
he was an actor. He was a really good actor, and then he went
Was
on.
he?
No. I think that he was really good in that role as Neo in the Matrix. I think
I was
so.
gonna say,
and then
you haven't seen the behind the scenes of Dracula,
and
have
then
that's a great movie.
and then he just became a guy who just showed up to
is.
work. He just became a guy who showed up to work and cashed a check and like played as a part of a shit film, and then his career ended up being revitalized for the fact that it was sort of like cluing into his whole history as a action hero, like front man.
The fascinating thing about it is his career hasn't really been revitalized that much because he hasn't really done anything other than John Wick that's been any good.
No, he doesn't have to do anything
He
else.
did have a romantic comedy that went to Netflix that most people who watched actually said was a good entry in modern day romantic comedies, which is kind of in a dour spot right now. Anyway, it was him and Winona Ryder. So
Oh, I did.
called Destination Wedding.
Yeah.
yeah,
I've heard of that.
yeah. So anyway,
Haven't
I'm just
watched
saying.
it, but okay.
Seems like he's being a slightly more not picky, but now that you can do a John Wick every year, you can then be like, oh, I guess I'll do this. Anyway,
Okay.
can I say one thing about the John Wick 3 trailer that bothers me?
Oh,
And I say that
please.
as someone who cannot wait to see that movie. But for whatever reason, and I know what it means, so it's not like I'm being dumb, but for whatever reason, the line in which someone says in the trailer, I don't know who, but all this over a dog, and he said it wasn't just a dog. I mean, obviously that's true with the first movie's Up-inspired origin story and whatnot, but also, like, why can't it be just about a dog? Like why does he have to make that? I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of an insult to
Yeah.
the dog.
Yeah. Why can't I just love my dog?
Yeah.
Why do I have to just let it slide when somebody fucking
know.
kills my dog?
For whatever reason, every time I hear that line, I'm like, you know what would be really manly and cool if he was like, fuck yeah, it's about my dog. Anyway.
You're the man now, dog. Anyway.
So, anyways, that's coming up on our next episode. You can always find us on FilmTankShow.com. That's where you can find all of our episodes that are also available on iTunes or Stitcher at Film Tank or Film Tank Show if you want to try to search for that. And if you are on those services and you wanted to rate or review our podcast, we would very much appreciate that. Try to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, too.
You can find
Hey,
us.
I was going hard for a while.
Yeah, it's my fault.
And then
Okay, thank you.
And then
I'm not blameless here. I'm just saying that
I picked up so much steam because I thought you were with me. I'm only saying that in case it shames you into actually doing it,
Yeah.
not because like actually like,
America.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's business logic right there. I'm going to.
I'm gonna shame you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am going to motivate you by shaming you into doing
sexual
this.
gratification comes later.
Oh God.
So if the shame doesn't work, you do have that to look forward to.
On that note, thank you very much to Tucson Egan, Nick Cheney, and from them and myself, Alex Diegman. Thank you very much to the listener. We'll catch up with you next time here on Film Tank.